Hi, my name is Patrick Cruz, and I will be talking about the state of quality education, a UN global goal. Education is very important in our society. As kids go to school, they learn the basic fundamentals of math, science, reading, history, all these things. They go on to graduate and start to have a career. Sadly, some students do not have that privilege or path success. I'm going to read off some stats to you from the Global Goals website, and it is very shocking to even read on my part. One of them says an additional 101 million, or 9% of children grades in 1 through 8 fell below minimum reading proficiency levels in 2020. COVID-19 happened in 2020 and it wiped out 20 years of educational gains. That is a lot, and that can happen in 1 year. And even before that, the completion rate in primary schools in 2010 was 82%. In 2019 is 85%. So 3% rose within 9 years. And even in secondary school in 2010, 46% completed, while 9 years later in 2019, only 53% completed their high school and further education. These completion rates matter because this shows that students do not get the resources needed to succeed in school. This can cause lack of motivations with students to complete their education, and especially to those in low-income areas. In order to bring light into this issue, I believe a podcast series containing an undergrad within the educational field, a teacher with experience, and a normal person with little to no information about the topic, discussing the importance of education. The state of quality education is on its last limb. Most low-income areas have little resources compared to a well-rounded school within the same county. It's almost as if segregation came back in a microaggressive attempt. I can especially discuss about this in a local context because in 2016, a show called America Divided, an episode was hosted by Jesse Williams, who was in Grey's Anatomy and other works, and he discussed the implemented resegregation by the system towards students of color, and it took place in Pinellas County, nearby Tampa Bay. They talked about Gibbs High School and the funding they received, and then other funding going out into well-rounded schools like A-rated schools, and it's very shocking to say. The importance of this problem is that every student deserves an opportunity to education and its availability as well. Students also deserve a path to success, meaning to say resources need to be up to date, schools have to feel safe, and the environment has to feel welcoming. Even students from other schools would talk gossip among other schools and call it quote-unquote ghetto or filled with bad kids, but on a deeper level, those schools may not have the resources to match with other educational facilities. No student would feel motivated to succeed and continue their path to success if other schools are getting better resources than them. If this problem is not solved, then students would not want to succeed. They're in an environment that reinforces the unsuccessful levels. Low-income schools would also continue to receive little to no funding for their students. Qualified teachers would not want to work in those schools because of how low the grade is, and especially with quote-unquote bad kids. But they are needed to help the students succeed. It's like a game of dominoes. As one falls, the next one falls as well. If education does not improve, so does completion rates. And the problem will continue to decrease, or the problem will continue to increase through time. So, my plan to the solution was a podcast episode. First, I would have to set up meetings and propose this podcast episode to those interested in voicing their messages. Second, I would make a transcript of how this episode should go, so information would be structured, and topics discussed, mentioned, and other things that poke interest would be well flowing, so that way the receivers, as in the viewers, could be able to absorb the information made by these persuaders, or as in these participants. Third, I would record the episode and let each speaker voice their message about it. This podcast episode will not be held back because the speakers invited are the individuals who are passionate about this field and understand the importance of providing it for those who do not have that privilege. Privilege as in a well-rounded school. So, I believe a podcast is a great outreach to an audience and it can be easily conveyed. During COVID-19, podcast viewers actually increased their viewers by a lot and is steadily growing as people were quarantined in. So, and it's like the modern radio. And with that, the participants, they could be able to persuade the viewers and by providing them information about this topic, giving them a more clear insight of the state of education. It can also motivate those to complete their work towards education, and it can also open the eyes of many others about people who do not have the privilege as others do. So, once this episode goes, I believe the world will look the same. It would take years and years for education to become at the level of the goal needed. But what we could do is that with these experts in this field, things can change by outreaching to other groups interested in fixing this issue, and including hyperlinks that present ways to help support quality education. Also, with that, we can make social media profiles and have a channel and outreach to audiences via Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these social media formats just to gain a following. The benefits to my audience would be that it would help schools that do not have the same resources, material, and funding compared to A-rated schools. Long term, supporting quality education will aid the future generation in receiving the privilege that other well-funded schools receive. As in, we can bring a D-rated school to a higher level. And my call to action would be to round up support for organizations aiding towards quality education for areas in need, such as petitions, these other things. Most importantly, listening and understanding the issue is a great call to action because it informs the viewers of this issue that may or may not have thought of. So the importance of this issue is to provide equal educational opportunities and updated material for those who have little to none compared to other schools. And I believe listening and understanding this issue is one step, and the next is to support organizations working towards quality education. And finally, I just want to say that even before COVID-19, quality education was a work in progress. After the pandemic, it was set back. Education is overdue for areas in need, and 20 years is too long to wait. So with this podcast series, it would spread awareness and give support to aid the solution of bringing quality education to those in need. Thank you.